It's a survey out today. It is conducted by Natural England. Children from low-income families and Black, Asian and minority ethnic households are markedly less likely than white children and those from higher-income households to visit urban or rural wild places. And let's ask Paul Hocker, the director of London Play. Hi, Paul. Morning.
Morning, Vanessa. Nice to speak to you.
Morning. Nice to speak to you too. This is an unusual story today, isn't it?
It's a bit wonky, if you ask me. I'm not sure if I agree with those findings. There's about 80 adventure playgrounds in London.
Yeah.
These are the places that have staff, and they're very exciting, and they're changeable play structures that the kids change. Now, a lot of those adventure playgrounds are deeply urban settings within London, and they have a lot of them have a big space where there's a chance for kids to get into nature and play around with worms and whatnot. And I've been to these adventure playgrounds, and there's not like a whole load of white kids down one end with mud on their hands and a whole load of Asian kids down the other end sitting quietly in the corner. It's a real mix-up. Just kids are kids.
So you do. So you don't see this. You don't see that there are lots of lovely, rugged, wild places in London and around London, but unfortunately, the people enjoying them are exclusively white. That's not what you see.
I think the issue is this, Vanessa.
Yeah.
I mean, the adventure playgrounds is one thing, but when you're talking about like Hampstead Heath or Richmond Park and all the rest of it, where as a child maybe 20, 30 years ago, and when I say child, I'm talking about 11, 12 years, might have been able to access that independently with their mates and go on the bus and get there, and that just be a thing they did and have that adventure on their own. Now, parents have got a decamp from their house with all the kids and make it a bit of a destination kind of activity where they're all going.
Yes.
So I think that's what it is. It's about being able to independently access nature. And local parks, similarly, a lot of them are sort of surrounded by very busy roads, and parents, understandably, don't like the idea that kids having to negotiate those roads without them. So that's what it is. It's about how we've built our city. We've built it so that there's these obstructions for kids to actually independently access nature, like I did when I was a kid.
But according to this report, somehow or other the white kids are doing it, the wealthy kids are doing it. It's just the Black and Asian kids who are not doing it.
Well, I mean, that's what our charity is really working on at the moment. We are seeing a London where the richer, perhaps whiter, I'm not sure about that, but certainly the kids from the affluent families are getting all the opportunities, and the kids from the poorer neighbourhoods are being literally priced out of their playing environment.
Only it's not true, is it? Because Hampstead Heath is Hampstead Heath, and there's free bus travel. The Heath is free. You don't have to pay to go to it. You can go there from anywhere. You're not being priced out of the Heath or priced out of Richmond Park or Regent's Park or Hyde Park or anything else, are you?
That's true. I mean, but
when you say, what do you mean when you say that poor children are being priced out of nature? That's not fair.
We have a situation in London where a couple of local authorities are thinking about selling on their parks to private companies. Now, private companies will only want to take those parks on if there's a profit margin in there. We've already seen Wandsworth got rid of their adventure playground and put in place a pay-to-play venue. London is, I'm afraid, I'm sad to say, moving in that direction, where the richer kids are going to have all the opportunities, and the poorer kids
but this isn't fair. I mean, this applies to this one playground, and it may happen to other playgrounds. We did discuss it on the programme. We did it in some detail. Turns out that there is a playground for those who don't want to pay for the adventure playground. Turns out the adventure playground is much more of a sort of adult bonding, work away day kind of adventure playground than the sort of place where children would routinely play. It's involving a whole lot of sort of semi sort of abseiling equipment. So it's a bit misleading to imply that it's an adventure playground that any kid would play on a daily basis. But hang on a minute. But nobody's planning to sell Southend Beach or Hampstead Heath, are they?
Okay. Let me just quickly make 2 points very quickly. One, Go8, the organisation you're talking about, if you look at their publicity, it's got lots of pictures of kids on there. So it's not an adult thing. They're selling it to kids. The other thing is, to get to Southend from London will probably cost the average family, in terms of train fare or petrol, about 30, 40 quid. And if you're coming from a low-income family, that's a lot of dough.
No, I accept that. That's certainly fair.
It's not cheap, but
it's also true, isn't it, that it's quite remarkable. Everyone always does say this when you live in London, as I've lived all my life. You get in the car, or you get on a bus or a train. You sit in the car or bus or train, depending on the traffic and whatever, for a limited number of minutes, and then you go, "Oh my God, there's the country." And it's almost extraordinarily near. We get so used to the big smoke, and we're all so crowded, and gosh, you can't breathe, and blah blah blah. And then you're in the car or on a bus, and it doesn't take long. I mean, if you think of that drive to Oxford, up the Doodah, whatever you drive up that road to get to Oxford, you know what I mean. And in the end, you get to Birmingham. That one, the M40, exactly. Thank you very much. Someone just said that in my ear because I don't know where. The M40. You don't have to go very far. You go past the Hoover Building. You go a bit further up past Northolt, what's its face, a little bit further, and then suddenly the whole thing opens out. You're nowhere near Oxford, and Oxford's only an hour away. I reckon you're driving half an hour, 40 minutes, maybe 40 minutes at the most. And it's like, oh my God, it's green. What happened?
Vanessa,
yes,
come on.
yes.
I love you, but this is the fact of the matter.
I love you
too.
You
were brought up in Charge. I was brought up in Chelsea.
Yeah.
Hadley Wood for us.
Yeah, Hadley Wood, exactly.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And Totteridge Green at a pinch. Totteridge Green was always nice. Yeah.
Very nice. Orange tree pub.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
the kids that live in Lambeth, the kids that live in Southwark, the kids that live in Lewisham, they haven't got a 10-minute bus journey to Hadley Wood. That's not going to happen for them. What they've got is what they've got locally. They've probably got both parents out to work. There's probably not much money for them to do much in the holidays.
Yeah.
They're stuck. And what's the best thing that a parent can do in those situations? Probably just give them a Nintendo or something to TV to watch.
Right.
That's the modern way for parents with not much money. That's the compromise they've got to make. We need to invest in play in those parts of the city where there aren't those great parks. We need to invest in adventure playgrounds. The idea that a local authority could even consider cutting play ahead of other things, I find, very
And what about the idea, though, Paul, that culturally, depending on your ethnicity, you might be much less likely to say today, well, all, I completely accept that we don't allow children to go off on their own as we used to do. Absolutely, that is the case. You're quite right. People are scared of all sorts of things, traffic, paedophiles and everything else. So people don't do that. But that you could on a Sunday morning, for example, say, right, we'll pack up some sandwiches, we'll all go on the bus or whatever it is, and we'll go to the nearest, big area of open space, and we'll have a day out together, and it won't cost a great deal of money, and this is something we could do, and you're less likely to do that if you're not white. What about that as a concept and as an idea?
I don't buy that. I mean, we go back to my childhood where I used to go up to Trent Park and there was barbecues there, and on a Sunday there'd be Asian families, Turkish families, Greek families using the barbecues and the kids playing in the woods. That's not something that I've seen. I think what National England have done quite cleverly is drawn out a blip in the stats and used it to get the broader subject aired on the radio.
Right, and you're pleased to have it aired as a subject.
Absolutely, do whatever it takes to raise these issues that children are our future, as George Benson rightly said. Yeah. They are our future. If we don't invest in them, if we don't do right by them now, the future is going to be very strange.
Yeah, I just keep thinking of the Jewish comedian Jackie Mason talking about Jewish people on holiday and saying, I'm going for a walk. And then you sort of walk out of the hotel. You'd walk, I don't know how far, 50 yards, 100 yards. If you're really pushing yourself, 200 yards, you'd have a walk. And you're like, right, I've had a walk. And then you'd sit down and have a piece of cake to recover and talk about it.
Exactly. And that used to get to the buffet.
Exactly. And that presumably is a cultural thing. I mean, obviously it's a generalisation, it's a stereotype, but I know my father used to insist on us going for a walk the whole time, and my grandfather used to laugh. What are you walking for? Where are you going? If you're not going anywhere, what the hell are you walking for? You're walking just in a circle to come back home again? Why would anyone do that? It didn't make any sense to him. The idea of walking as an actual sort of pastime and pursuit was completely beyond his comprehension. He thought walking was something you had to do when you had to get somewhere. And if you as my mother used to say, Vanessa can walk, but thank God she doesn't have to. We take a car or a cab, you wouldn't have to walk anywhere. You know what I mean? So there is a possibility that there are cultural predispositions to going into the great outdoors, and that some cultures like it and some don't like it so much. Yeah, but
I think you just hit the nail on the head, because I had, came similar background to you. I had, sofa-based elder relatives that when they came over, they were on the sofa and they were eating pastries, and that was it. Right. But for me, as a modern, as a child of that age, yes, who had Christian friends, who had Muslim friends, or whatever friends, we would get out on our choppers and go out and do stuff. I was aware of the cultural heritage of my background and how those relatives were, and that the idea of going out in the woods was, completely unheard of. But for me, as a modern child, I was connected through my school and through other things, and I think that's true of the kids today. Their parents might have, as you say, a cultural disposition, but the kids themselves, they're mixing it up with all the other kids, and their interests are the same.
Paul, great talking to you. Thank you very much indeed. Paul Hocker there, the director of London Play.